Good evening to everyone. Today I am here, Jayoti Bhattacharjee of 9C is going to present a short animating video on Newton's third law of motion. So let's start. So to understand Newton's famous third law of motion, so first we have to know about these two words or terms, that is action and reaction. So here the definition of action and reaction. So what's the action? The force which is exerted by the first body on the second body is known as action, and the force which is exerted by the second body on the first body is known as reaction. So to understand this concept more clearly, let us see an example. So here in the picture we can see that a ball is thrown on the ground. When the ball is thrown, the force that the ball gives to the ground is the action force, and the force that the ground gives to the ball is the reaction force. But here the magnitude is equal. So what is magnitude? When the number and unit is together called a magnitude. For example, 10 Newton, 30 Newton, etc. So to understand Newton's third law of motion more clearly, let's see more examples. So the another example is, here we can see that the swimmer is swimming. So here the swimmer pushes against the water by his or her hand, that is action force, and the water pushes back on the swimmer, that's the reaction force. So therefore Newton's third law says that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So that's why the swimmer moves forward. So to illustrate Newton's third law of motion, let's see more applications. How do we walk? So we walk due to Newton's third law of motion. When we walk on the ground, then our foot pushes the ground backward, and in return the ground pushes our foot forward. So the forward reaction exerted by the ground on our foot makes us walk forward. So here we can see in the picture that the action force is when ground exerted the force, and the reaction force is which ground gives the force on our foot. So that's why we are able to move forward. Newton's third law of motion also helps the birds to fly in the sky. So here in the picture we can see that wings of a bird exert a downward force on the air. The air also exerts an equal and opposite force which pushes the bird upward. So the action and reaction combine to helps the birds to fly on the sky. So the another example is, when we sit on the chair, our body exerts a downward force on the chair, and the chair also exerts an upward force. So that's why we can sit. If the chair wouldn't have exerted a force, the chair would collapse and we would fall down. So now let's recall what's the Newton's third law of motion. First, whenever one body exerts a force on another body, the second body exerts an equal and opposite force on the first body. Second, force exerted by the first body is an action. Third, force exerted by the second body is reaction. And at last, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So from all the examples that we have seen, we can easily conclude that in every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, and they act on different bodies. So examples are like, it helps jet aeroplanes to fly, then it also helps boats and ships to move forward. So therefore there are many such real life examples that exist under Newton's third law of motion.